Hey, you still on the phone with Bryce in there? Bryce, if you're out there, I didn't get a chance to tell you he wants an AT&T phone. One of these two, your phone's either going to have a SIM card in it or it's not. If it has a T-Mobile SIM card in it, it doesn't matter. It'll work with AT&T. Just trust that whatever I send you is going to work with AT&T. So I didn't get a chance to tell him this because it ran out of time before the segment ended. All right, let me get to some of these other things that I have highlighted in the news today. I want to go back to this dossier that caused so much controversy the past couple of days. The drive-by media, remember BuzzFeed publishes the entire 35-page dossier of memos. None of it verified, none of it established, none of it proved, none of it confirmed. They admit this when they publish it. They claim it's been out there for months. You need to make up your own minds, meaning you, the American people. This dossier has been floating around for months. And if you heard rumors that they really got something waiting to blow up on Trump all last summer, this is what it is. There was nothing to it. It's totally made up. It's bogus. It is a series of memos written by a former spook at MI6, the UK version of the CIA. And it turns out that the guy who was actually commissioned to do this works for an outfit hired by Planned Parenthood. The guy is embedded deeply in liberal Democrat politics. The whole thing is made up, and it's part of what I've continually told you, the effort the media is making to destroy Trump. In the normal course of events, they're able to destroy Republicans with innuendo and allegation. That's all it takes. Republicans have resigned, have cowered in fear because two things have been at work. The media release something that is either total BS or has a small little grain of truth in it about a Republican, and people believe it. It's the media. Low information people believe it. The Republican Party's never had anybody in it willing to fight back, nor that knew how. So the media has become accustomed to this technique of taking out political opponents with bilge like this working. But again, they don't know what they're up against with Donald Trump. They think that the techniques that they've used for decades to destroy political opponents are going to work on Trump, and they just don't understand why they don't work. They don't understand the connection Trump's voters have with him. They don't understand the connection Trump supporters. They don't believe that Trump actually won the election. They're living in a really deluded place, and they're totally unhinged. And so it's finally exposed to be fraudulent. All these media people began to back. Oh, by the way, Neil Cavuto had a brilliant point yesterday. Neil Cavuto, the Fox Business Network and Fox News Channel. Cavuto, I'm paraphrasing, but he essentially, he essentially said to media, hey, media, what's it feel like to be attacked by a president? I mean, hey, media, you never defended us at Fox when Obama came after us or Rush Limbaugh for the last 8 years. And he's got a great point. Whenever Obama would trash Fox or trash me and talk radio, the drive-bys didn't act like there's anything wrong. In fact, many of them piled on Fox News along with Obama. So now here's Trump. And he's not just trashing the media for the sake of it, like Obama trashed Fox News. He's trashing the media because they're a bunch of frauds. He's trashing the media because they are engaging in fake news, and he's calling them out on it. So Cavuto's point was, hey, media, you never came to our defense when Obama was attacking us, so go sit in it. Find out what it's like. You're acting like this has never happened before. You're acting like this is beyond the pale. Your buddy Obama spent 8 years doing this kind of stuff to Fox News and to talk radio and to Rush Limbaugh, and you haven't said a word in support. And now when Trump comes after you, you're acting like all kinds of societal norms and traditions are being blown up. And Cavuto is exactly right about this. It's such a good point that I wish I had thought of it. Anyway, UK Daily Mail, not anywhere in the United States media. UK Daily Mail today. I want to read some excerpts from a story. On November 18th, at the Halifax International Security Forum in Canada, U.S. Senator John McCain was introduced to a former senior Western diplomat who had seen these documents, the dossier on Trump, and knew who put the dossier together. The former senior Western diplomat told McCain that the individual was highly reliable. That man can now be identified as Sir Andrew Wood, British ambassador to Moscow, 1995 to 2000. So, the UK ambassador to Moscow, Sir Andrew Wood, tells McCain in Canada last November that this dossier is real. He knows the guy who did it, and you can rely on it. Sir Andrew Wood told the UK independent newspaper he had met McCain, he had spoken to him about Trump and about the potential for Trump to be compromised based on this dossier. In a carefully nuanced statement, Sir Andrew Wood said, yes, I did meet Senator McCain and his aides at the conference. We spoke about the kind of activities the Russians can be engaged in. We also spoke about how Mr. Trump may find himself in a position where there could be an attempt to blackmail him with compromat, that's a Russian term for compromising material. And we talked about claims that there were audio and videotapes in existence of what Trump had done. So Sir Andrew Wood admits to British newspapers that he told McCain about Trump's behavior documented by the Russians, and that's in this dossier that could lead to Trump being blackmailed. He added, I would like to stress that I did not pass on any dossier to Senator McCain or anybody else, and I did not see the dossier. I do know Christopher Steele, that's the guy who wrote it, and who was paid for by Planned Parenthood in previous events. And in my view, he's very professional and thorough in what he does. So Sir Andrew Wood, obviously a leftist, telling McCain that this whole thing is for real. The Russians have video and audio compromising Trump. They can blackmail him. Haven't seen the dossier, but I've talked to the guy who put it together, Christopher Steele, Democrat consultant hired by Planned Parenthood. And in my view, he's totally reliable. So McCain sold this bill of goods in Canada by the UK ambassador to Moscow, that the dossier is real, that the Russians have audio and videotape, but he didn't have the dossier to give McCain. He did not admit that he told McCain how to get it, but somebody did, because after all of this, McCain dispatched a trusted emissary to fly across the Atlantic to the UK to meet the source of the dossier at an airport that the UK Guardian did not name. The aide was instructed to look for a man with a copy of the Financial Times, and that's how they individuals met, with the source taking McCain's emissary back to his house and giving McCain's emissary a copy of the dossier. So, let me again synthesize this. McCain is in Canada, Halifax International Security Forum. British ambassador to Moscow comes up and tells him about this document that the Russians have audio and videotape supporting of Trump behaving in ways in a hotel room that could blackmail him. The Russians have the evidence. This guy has not seen the dossier. He knows it exists, and he knows the guy who put it together. He's a very trustworthy guy. They didn't have the dossier to give McCain. So McCain, so intrigued by this, last November, he actually dispatched an aide to fly to the UK to meet somebody who had the dossier at his home, took McCain's emissary to his home, and gave McCain's emissary the dossier. 24 hours later, the dossier was in Washington, though the contents of the file could not be verified without an investigation, meaning it was all BS. McCain was worried, this according to the UK Guardian, McCain was worried that his actions might be interpreted as revenge for some of the things Trump had said about him, i.e. not respecting military people get captured. McCain decided, nevertheless, to hand over the documents to James Comey on December the 9th. It was redundant because Comey already had them. The document had been, the thing is, funny about this document had been floating around Washington for months. McCain only really heard that he could get his hands on it in November and wanted it so badly he sent somebody on a plane to the UK in November to get this damn thing and bring it back, and he gave it to Comey. That's why McCain yesterday. I found out. Comey already had it. I wasn't the first guy that gave it to him. I just was wearing my citizen hat, my good citizen hat. I said it's sensitive material. Who knows if it's true? It's a potential problem. So you don't find this in the American media, but here's McCain, a Republican, joining forces with all these anti-never Trump people in an effort to bring Trump down and trafficking in pure BS. Now, I mentioned this because the sound bites we had of McCain yesterday made him sound like he's a, third-party player here. He heard about it, and somehow it ended up in his possession. He thought it was dynamite, so he took it over to Comey. There's never any reporting that McCain was so eager to see this, and he sent somebody on a transatlantic flight to get it, even though it was already circulating around Washington. And it's blown up in their faces because it isn't verifiable. It isn't true. However, the media is not letting go. I've got sound bites here where they're still investigating it. They still think there's something to it. Otherwise, it would never have been written. And they're going to get to the bottom of it. It's the last thing they do. And if there's evidence that Trump hired prostitutes to go urinate on a bed in the Ritz-Carlton in Moscow where Obama and Michelle had slept, they're going to find the evidence. They're hell-bent. Even though Trump addressed all this, he says, look, I know better than most. When you go to a hotel in Russia, it's bugged. I don't hire prostitutes. I'm a germaphobe. I wouldn't allow this. This is absurd. It's ridiculous. And it is. But the point is, they are not giving it up. Back after this.